Did you know? Passive components that once cost less than $1 are now highly sought-after items that even tech giants are scrambling to buy. A single AI server uses as many as 20,000 to 30,000 MLCCs, which is about 30 times that of a smartphone, and the price has skyrocketed. Why has this once inconspicuous little part suddenly become so hard to come by? And how did Yageo, a traditional small factory that started by selling resistors, leverage passive components to exceed $130 billion in revenue and become a key player in the AI supply chain? Right? Whenever we talk about AI, the focus is always on those incredibly powerful chips that cost hundreds of thousands each. But few people know that in an AI server, without these many small parts working silently in the background, even the most powerful chip would just be a piece of scrap metal. These small parts are what we call passive components. They are so low profile because in traditional electronic products, various functions are performed by active components that can compute, such as CPUs and various chips. Passive components don't perform calculations, their only task is to ensure power is stable and clean. For instance, resistors are used to prevent current surges, capacitors stabilize voltage and filter noise, and inductors prevent signal interference. When we talk about passive components, we are mainly referring to these three. Interestingly, although these parts are indispensable, they have always been treated as the small screws of the electronics industry due to their low technical barrier and were considered worthless. But the emergence of AI has completely changed the game. NVIDIA's GB200 server has a power consumption of over 120 kilowatts, several times that of traditional servers, and the higher the power consumption, the greater the instantaneous current the chips must withstand. In this case, without robust passive components to stabilize voltage fluctuations, even the strongest chip would crash instantly. To solve this, there has been an explosion in demand for multi-layer ceramic capacitors, or MLCCs, which are specifically designed to handle high temperatures and voltages. This lucrative market was once split between Japan's Murata and South Korea's Samsung, but now a company has forced its way to the table, and that is Yageo. In the minds of many, the name Yageo doesn't seem to be associated with high-tech or AI. Indeed, when Yageo first went public in 1997, its main product was the chip resistor, which has the lowest technical content among passive components. Because the barrier to entry was low, a crowd of manufacturers in Taiwan were competing on price in this market, resulting in a brutal, blood-letting price war. However, Yageo's chairman, Pierre Chen, realized early on that continuing a price war would only lead to a dead end. The only way to survive was to do what others couldn't. At that time, mobile phones were becoming popular, electronic products were getting smaller, and manufacturers' requirements for capacitors were becoming increasingly strict. Consequently, Chen set his sights on MLCCs, which require a higher level of technical expertise. But there was a problem. You couldn't just start making such advanced technology. What could be done? Chen chose the fastest and most aggressive method: buying it outright. In 2000, he invested heavily to acquire the entire passive components division of the European giant Philips, effectively purchasing ready-made core MLCC technology. And he also gained the international clients that small Taiwanese firms could only dream of. With this, Yageo's MLCC market share jumped from less than 2% to the top 3 globally. Unfortunately, blocked by industry giants Murata and Samsung, Yageo remained stuck in third place, only seeing a real chance to turn things around when the AI era arrived. Compared to the mobile phone era, AI servers have much higher requirements for MLCCs, specifically necessitating premium, high-priced versions to cope with intense heat and power consumption. Naturally, Murata and Samsung shifted their most advanced production capacity to top-tier MLCCs for AI to maximize their profits, much like in the memory market. This decision created a massive capacity gap for standard MLCCs, allowing Yageo to seize the opportunity. They were flooded with orders, causing their revenue and profits to soar. However, this couldn't be considered a true victory for Yageo, as these were merely scraps left over by Murata and Samsung. When it came to the AI market itself, Yageo didn't even qualify for a piece of the pie. Since they couldn't win a head-on battle, Yageo decided to change their strategy. Instead of competing with Murata and Samsung on top-tier products, they targeted mid to high-end MLCCs, which have a lower unit price but much higher usage volume in AI servers. With precise market positioning, Yageo finally squeezed into the AI supply chain. That's not all. Yageo also holds a trump card called tantalum capacitors. Both are capacitors, but if the strength of an MLCC is providing clean, fast current, then the advantage of a tantalum capacitor is its larger capacity and energy storage, perfectly complementing MLCCs to make power supply both fast and stable. In this segment, by acquiring the former leader Kemet, Yageo captured over 40% of the market share, firmly securing the #1 spot globally. Then, in 2025, they acquired Japan's Chip Hero, securing thermal resistors and temperature sensors. With this, Yageo has rounded out its AI-related passive components, including resistors, capacitors, inductors, and sensors. This means AI server manufacturers no longer need to negotiate with vendors one by one. They just have to submit their requirements, and Yageo handles the rest. Murata and Samsung excel at individual products, but Yageo's strength lies in providing a complete, end-to-end solution. Looking at this, it is clear that Taiwan's Yageo is taking a different path compared to the Japanese, hidden champions we are familiar with. Japanese firms are like specialists, refining one core technology to the extreme to become irreplaceable. Yageo isn't aiming for the top of the pyramid but is instead dominating the vital second and third tiers. While they may lack a superstar product, they have a solid army of reliable components, quietly carving out a massive share of the AI market with products that don't grab the spotlight. What other products are silently making a fortune just like passive components? Stay tuned.